Published in 1859 by the famous English writer and author Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities is a historical novel which tells the story of French Dr. Manette, his 18-year-long imprisonment in the Bastille in Paris, and his release to live in London with his daughter, whom he had never met. A Tale of Two Cities. Charles Dickens opens his best-known novel, A Tale of Two Cities, with a sentence that has become famous. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And in many respects, it was the best of times for Joshua and the children of Israel. It was the best of times because they had ceased wandering in Egypt for 40 years. They had crossed the Jordan River and seen God perform a miracle. They had entered the promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey. They'd seen the conquest, the walls fall at Jericho, and the battle won at Ai. And they'd seen over 30 kings defeated. In many respects, for Joshua and the children of Israel, it was the best of times. Well, the theme for our reflections this week is not a tale of two cities, but a tale of 6 cities. As we dig into the exciting narrative and rich soil of Joshua chapter 20, which describes for us the cities of refuge. Let me first of all sketch in some of the background picture for you. The land of Canaan has been possessed and subdued. The various tribes, as we have read and observed in the preceding chapters, have received their allotment of land, their inheritance, and things are starting to wind down insofar as the conquest of the land is concerned. However, there is still much work to be done by Joshua and the children of Israel. And as we come to Joshua chapter 20, we find them carrying out a command which was first given to Joshua's predecessor, Moses, a command which we read of in Numbers 35, 1 through to 34. That command was to appoint 6 cities that were to be known as cities of refuge. These 6 cities were to be made available to anyone who had killed another person by accident and who needed to flee and seek and have refuge. They could flee to any of these 6 cities to be assured of refuge. Well, what was the purpose of these 6 cities? Well, as we've already alluded to, they were to serve first and foremost as a refuge. It's clear from the verses in Joshua 20 that they were set up to protect the person who'd accidentally, and I want to emphasize that, accidentally taken the life of another person. When the Lord gave Israel his law, every crime was to be dealt with swiftly and in accordance with the nature of the offence. The punishments were always designed to fit the crime. Not so some punishments these days in respect of some crimes which are committed. But the punishments in those days, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a hand for a hand, a foot for a foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, and so on and so forth. Just read Exodus 21, verses 24 through to 25. If the crime in question happened to take the life of another human being, the nearest kinsman of that person who had lost his or her life had the right to avenge the death of his fallen relative. Numbers 35, verses 19 through to 21. But from reading passages like Numbers 35, and this is why it's important to set the scene and to give you the background, the Lord saw a difference between murder and manslaughter. Therefore, when a man had accidentally taken the life of another, he could flee to one of these 6 cities of refuge. And if it was determined that the death had been an accident, he could find and would find refuge from the, quote, avenger of blood. So these cities were first and foremost established as a refuge. And secondly, these cities were set up not just as a refuge, but to serve as a reminder. And as we journey through our reflections this week in Joshua 20, looking at a tale of 6 cities, we'll see that these 6 cities serve to point out certain facts about the salvation that we enjoy in Christ. Just as these were cities where a man or a woman could flee in times of desperate need, so Jesus, even today, creates for us and is for us that place of refuge. We need a refuge. We need a place where we can run to and find safety for our souls. And today, that place is not a city. That place is the person of Jesus Christ.